Okay, so I have a demo for you guys. Like I said, I was talking about birds, and I just want to show you real quick some of the things you're going to learn with these different bird paintings that I think you might enjoy. Okay, so I'm going to switch real quick to my, to face this down real quick. There we go. And this is a little worksheet that I put together. All right, so I want you to see, I'm going to put out a few colors here just so you can see the demo. All right, so I'm going to put out some blue. Of course, my blue doesn't want to cooperate today. You ever have one of those days where your paint is just way too thick? And I'm going to put out some white. There we go. It's just easier this way sometimes. Okay. All right, and a little bit of pink. Okay. So I want you to see what I've got here is some looks at some up close feathers and then some feathers that are more of an impression. We're just going for the look. And then especially wanted you to see how we do the hummingbird looking feathers. Okay. So what I've got here, I'm going to show you first is this big guy. So this is what you would do if you were doing angel feathers, angel wings, things where you want to show the actual feather itself, okay? And you're going to use a rake brush for that, all right? So a rake brush, and I'm going to come in here and get, oops, I need to keep that wet, get some blue. Okay, so I love the blue, and then I'm going to get some white, all right? And so I'm going to come right here, and when you're doing this type of feather, all right, let's turn this way. You're going to be up, you're going to do the bone first, which is that center stem or stalk on that feather. You're going to start down here, and you're just going to pull up. A little bit of a curve, come to the tip. Okay. Yes, it is cobalt blue. Okay, so right up here, you're going to touch on that bone and you're going to stroke out and away. Now, when you're on a feather rake brush like this, you're going to stay kind of up on the tip. I don't want to push down real hard, just slight pressure, okay? But you're going to stroke forward. I'm going to pick up a little more white. Here we go. All right, so all the strokes are kind of curving like you're going up to the tip. Okay. So you're going to keep going up on one side and get shorter as you get to the tip, right? But leave those outside edges rough or ragged, unless you're trying to make a very perfect. Some feathers do look like that. They're actually kind of connected at the end. If you pick one up, they're all one, it seems like. But some have a little, I think they look prettier when they're kind of ruffled on the edges. Okay, so and then I'm going to stroke up the other side. All right, so all your strokes are going at this upward angle. Get a little more white. Right, and then out to the point. Now, it's looking a little flat because of both of those colors, so picking up fresh white, then I can come here and create some depth, a little bit of dimension to it. It doesn't have to be on every part of the feather. That'll make it look a little more realistic. Okay, and then finally, you're going to come back and restroke that bone. Right down the middle, up to the tip. And then I have seen some that kind of pull out little sprays of feathers at the bottom. And I thought those look kind of pretty. They go straight out. So now I'm on the chisel edge of this brush with short little chisel strokes. So I start with that blue, and then I come get some white and kind of add some highlights there, okay? And so that kind of goes around the bottom of the feather, so that you don't see the bone through there. Bad hair day, very funny, Belle. Okay, do you ever water down your paint with the rake? Yes, I do. I actually find that I can get it to work a little better if I add a little water. I'm not getting inky like you would with a script liner, Gilbert, but that's a really good question. I want to be able to see those bristles, okay? So a little bit inky helps, and then it's able to run down the brush a little easier too. And then when you're holding, because we know we always hold our brush straight, right guys? When you're holding the brush straight, then the paint's going to kind of work down the bristles. See that? Use water, not floating medium. Floating medium won't give you this kind of movement. Okay, so that's one way of doing feathers. Now, you can stay with this brush and get this look, or you can switch to a flat, but this is more of our kind of impression of feathers look, right? We have these kind of two looks. Some is bigger and some's a little smaller. But when you're on the chisel and you push down and slide and stand up, right, to get that kind of daisy stroke, right, or daisy petal. It's just when you do it with the rake brush, it gets a little kind of hairy looking. So I prefer to go to a 10 or a 12. All right, so here I'm going to grab some white and come over and get my magenta. I know these aren't bird colors, but I thought they showed up better. Okay, and there's probably some pink birds out there somewhere. Okay, so when you're doing a wing, for example, all right, you're going to push out and do a long, slender leaf stroke like that, right? To look like a wing. And then, so this is kind of our hummingbird wing. You saw a hummingbird, right? So you're coming out here to the tip of the wing and short little chisel strokes coming back into the edge. So you're just barely hitting into that edge, right? And you're very little pressure. And then you would, let me finish this up here. You can come down a little bit and give it a little bit of a curve. All right, but then you would come back and you would reverse the brush now and come in a little more. Right, and make little short chisel strokes coming around again, right? And so you're creating kind of layers of feathers there, whether it's the inside or the outside of the wing, okay? And then if you were going for something bigger, like with my flamingos, right? When you're stroking flamingo feathers, you're going to have kind of a pink and white look like this. Then again, you're on the daisy, you're on the chisel edge doing that daisy stroke with a lot of pressure and then standing up, right? And then if you layer these, you will get the look of feathers. And again, this, like I said, is impressionist look. So you're just going for the impression that this is feathers. And you stagger these, right? Because you don't want to create rows necessarily. Okay, you can also flip the brush around, but you want the darker color usually on the inside to create that depth. Then you could even come in and shade or shadow underneath there by floating with a darker color like the pink itself. I can't do that right now because it would be still wet. Okay, all right, and then we have, let me wipe this off and get some purple and white. So, all right, so down here what I did was created what the chest of the hummingbird looks like. So you're doing kind of our teardrop strokes, but you're leaving them wide, right? So you could do them in this direction, but it's actually better if you reverse it with the dark underneath and do it in this direction. And you lay them right up against each other like that, okay? And if you're doing the chest of a bird, then you want to make sure that you curve the sides so that it follows the curve of the body. You don't want it to look flat, like the bird's wearing a chest plate or something, right? And then you always start at the bottom when you're doing feathers. So then when you layer, you would come right up above and overlap slightly and come between the first. So I started here, but I came over between these. You don't want a line going up in between. So you don't want to lay the strokes the same. You want to stagger them going across. And then again, my paper is dry. You want to curve them going up, okay? So that's what we would do with the hummingbird lesson, all right? Then we have the chest of the macaw. All right, so I did a little bit here to show you what I did, but basically you take the two colors, right, and you're going to go for dark around the outside and light on the inside, right? So you're kind of shading that in and letting the inner part blend to a lighter shade. Then, so if this were the chest of my bird, right, then you would come in and side load some of that main darker color. In this case it's magenta, and down here you would do little, I have my brush just on the corner, and I'm doing little curved, downward curved strokes, and you get lighter as you go up. So lighter meaning less pressure. And the paint's working its way off the brush too. So, and you can kind of blend in some of those if you want, but darker down here where it is dark, right? And that gives the impression that there's feathers on the chest, but they're straight at you. Okay, so you're just seeing kind of the texture in the bird's chest rather than actual feathers, okay? So, and then over here, what we have is kind of from a side view with the wing. And I'm going to kind of demonstrate this off to the side so you can see it a little better. So let me get a couple of colors here. So this wing, right, you're going to come down from the side of the bird and you're going to create a tip on the wing and then come back up, right? And then within that wing, coming back here, you're going to create another layer of, so just little chisel edged wiggles, essentially. So you're creating another layer of feathers and then another at the top. So you're layering here. Everything is about layering when it comes to feathers, okay? And then you have to kind of let them go down and then they would come back up on the other side. All right, so those are feathers, guys.